Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well and Happy New Year. As we begin our gathering, I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you today from occupied Puyallup ancestral land, and I pay respect to the elders past and present and extend that respect to their descendants and all Indigenous people. My name is Sheila Wybrow. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of Tahoma UU Congregation, and we welcome all who are joining us for a longing for community, the hope for peace, and who are seeking justice. We are a diverse congregation which encourages each one who comes through our doors to find their own truth and belief. We invite all to join us in a search for meaning and community guided by reason, respect for each other, and by love. So some of you are joining us from across the globe, and some of you are local. But no matter what, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Links to this video version will be posted there this week, as well as on our website. And you can find all of our program announcements in our e-news and listed on our church calendar. Some of the highlights are as follows. Following worship service this morning, Nancy Slocum will host Kids Chapel at 11:30 a.m. On Friday, January 8th, you have an opportunity to share your talents in our TUUC Open Mic Night. Our first open mic night on Zoom was incredible for both participants and viewers, and we can hardly wait to see what you have to share with our community. Email Nancy Slocum to register to share your marvelous talents. Lists for all our programs can be found in the weekly e-news or via the events on our church calendar. Thank you so much for your financial support to our congregation that makes all these programs possible, and our staff who create and facilitate the programs and the connections we make through our congregation. We welcome Joe Rettenmeier to our virtual pulpit today. Joe joins us through the month of January while Reverend Linda takes a much-deserved break to refresh and renew during a one-month sabbatical. Joe Rettenmeier is a minister in the Unitarian Universalist Association. He received his Master of Divinity degree from Meadville-Lombard Theological School. Joe was raised in Kansas and has lived in the Salish Sea area since 1988. That's mainly Seattle. In 2006, he left a high-tech career to pursue his call to ministry, a call that aims to dismantle systematic racism, develop beloved LGBTQ and multicultural faith community, and reverse climate change. On Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m., Joe will host Tea Time on Zoom, so you can be in conversation with him during those times. We're delighted to have Joe join us today, as well as having him work with us throughout January. And now, breathe and relax and prepare to join us in worship.
Thank you, Sheila. I would like to add a few words to everyone joining. Whomever you love, wherever you live, and however you express your beautiful soul, you are welcome here in this new year of hope, faith, and love.
We now come to the beginning of our service where we light the chalice. The words for the lighting of the chalice are in chat if you don't know them already. And as Nancy lights the chalice, our words are, we light this chalice with deep respect for the mystery and the holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those that have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come.
Good morning. My name's Nancy Slocum. I am the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth here at Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation, and this is our time for all ages. And my notes didn't pop up. Uh-oh. Well, I'm just going to wing this. Let's see. Oh, well. So, this is an exciting time of year for me, in a time of pandemic excitement. Pandemic excitement being, life's been pretty quiet these days, but I'm excited this weekend because it's the start of something called the Extreme Reader Challenge at the Tacoma Public Library. So I don't know how long the library's been doing this, but I've done it for a couple of years. And the challenge, it's for adults and for teens. And the challenge is to read a certain number of books during the year and to have them all be parts of different categories. Categories like, read a historical fiction novel, or a book with the word book in the title, or a book by an author you've never read before. And so you pick out different books to meet all these categories, and it kind of stretches you to read things you might not otherwise read. And it also kind of stretches you to read more than you might otherwise read. This past year, I read 40 books. The challenge was for 40 books. This year, the challenge is for 50 books. It was cut down to 40 last year because the library was closed for some time. So anyway, I'm really excited about doing this. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I read a lot of great books. And so yesterday they announced the categories for what the challenge was for this year. And so I set up a spreadsheet on my computer, a place where I keep a list of all the books I read and what categories they fill. And when I did that yesterday, I reviewed the books that I read this last year, and there was one that I'd kind of forgotten about, and it was called The Year of Yes. Year of Yes. And it was written by a woman named Shonda Rhimes. She's in television. She writes television shows and produces television shows. The first one I think that she did was Grey's Anatomy. She's done some others. She's somewhat of a celebrity, so she fit my category last year for a book written by a celebrity. But as I thought about this book and thought about what she talked about, I thought that was a really great thing to reflect on, to think about at the beginning of a new year, the year of yes. What she did for a year was tell herself that she was going to say yes to things, to everything. When people invited her to do things, when opportunities arose, she was going to say yes. Because, and she did this because someone had said to her, you always say no. You don't do things. You always stay in your nice, comfortable little bubble, and you don't put yourself out there doing things that you might not otherwise try. And she decided she was going to buck that a little bit and try just saying yes and see what effect that had on her life. And she found it was a pretty interesting exercise for her to do. So I don't know about you, but I know sometimes I will say no to things if I'm feeling nervous about it or a little scared about doing it. And I remember one time someone saying to me, you can be scared about something and still do it. But I know sometimes I get a little nervous and I don't try new things. And as I was thinking about this, I thought, how many years have I been saying to myself, I really should try paddleboarding sometime. I've never been paddleboarding, and people who know me know I love the water, I love swimming, I love kayaking, but I've never been paddleboarding. And I think I'm a little nervous because I think that I'm not strong enough to do it, or that it'll be hard or something. And so I've told myself, this year, this is going to be the year I'm going to get on a paddleboard and try it out. Maybe I'll love it, maybe I won't like it, doesn't matter. I'll at least try it out rather than having it be this nagging thing in the back of my head that's like, oh, you should try that sometime. Saying yes to things that I put off doing, like sometimes I don't want to clean my room. Do you ever have that time when you don't feel like cleaning your room? It's kind of a mess. But I have found that when I say yes to doing it, it means that I'm embracing it. I'm deciding I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with joy. And I find that I enjoy it more when I do it that way. And I also get it done with quicker rather than it just kind of hanging over me. Oh, I've got to go clean my room. I've got to go clean my room. Like it's done. And then I can enjoy my clean room, right? So saying yes to things like that I put off. And sometimes you say yes to saying no. Does that make sense? Saying yes to saying no. So I think part of saying yes means you always have to check in with what what your heart tells you is the right thing to do. Because if what's important to you is being kind to people, being kind to animals, taking care of the environment, you wouldn't say yes to things that would hurt people or be disrespectful of people, or would hurt animals or would hurt our environment, right? So checking in with what's important to you and making sure that you're doing things that align with your values. The author, Shonda Rhimes, she said that when she found that she said no to things that weren't important to her, it gave her more time for the things that were joyful to her. She was able to spend time with her kids, for instance, and just spend time playing with them and having a good time with them, rather than doing things that she was doing that really weren't important to her and weren't true to her values. So I find myself wondering what this year might bring in terms of possibilities. What might be presented to me that maybe I could say yes to? And I wonder what you might say yes to this year. What are the things that you're hoping will happen for you? And will you say yes when those things present themselves? Or will you make them happen because you're saying yes? So have a wonderful year. I'll see you around, of course, but I'll be interested to hear from you what you say yes to. And you'll find me on a paddleboard somewhere, I imagine. That's our time for all ages. I send you out with the words that we use as children leave our sanctuary on Sunday mornings. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life, we hold you in our heart as you go. Take care.
We now come to the part of our service with our offertory, the words from John Saxon. This religious community exists in its mission as a fire exists by burning. But a fire cannot burn without fuel, and it is the time, the energy, the imagination, the vision, and the creativity and financial support that allow this church, this flame, to burn bright. This community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain welcoming and inclusive and diverse liberal religious communities to come together is only possible through your support. Your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of this community, is what fuels this community and the mission. Without your support, the flame of justice, community, and love cannot burn brightly to warm ourselves and be a beacon in the world threatened by division and fear. You can share with the links that are shown on the screen now, and thank you for your continued support. We now dedicate the offering that's been received. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love that we call community, both within and beyond these walls.
Friends, today's reading, as well as the closing words I'll offer later in our service, come from one of the most visionary and inspiring United States congressmen to have lived, the Honorable John Lewis, may he rest in power, and his book, Across the Bridge. Faith, to me, is knowing in the solid core of your soul that the work is already done, even as an idea is being conceived in your mind. It is being as sure as you are about your dreams, as you are about anything you know as a hard fact. For example, you are sure you know how to drive to your home from your job. No one could make you doubt that you know the way. You are sure that clouds drift in a light blue sky. You know the date you were born. Faith is being so sure of what the Spirit has whispered in your heart, that your belief in its eventuality is unshakable. Nothing can make you doubt that what you have heard will become a reality. Even if you do not live to see it come to pass, you know without one doubt that it will be. That is faith. I love that reading from John Lewis, and the way it reinforces that through the simple act of living each day, we are being taught by the principles, ethics, theologies, and dreams of prophets gone before us, like the Honorable John Lewis. As we live, we also learn as artists of faith. Actually, we are student artists of faith. Like any student, it is up to each of us to adopt and adapt the wisdom of prophets of peace gone before us as new whisperings of the Spirit, of what is faithfully ethical, effective, impactful, good, as those whisperings rise and are heard among us. And this morning, here we are, gathered in the first days, actually the first hours of a new year. We most likely find ourselves reflecting on the year that has just ended, 2020. 2020 presented not just a life-threatening virus in humankind, but also life-threatening infections in the soul of our nation. A political coup wishes to steal elections from we the people, causing spiritual exhaustion for all souls. The rise of hate and the suffocation of love between dominant white supremacy and heavily oppressed Black lives, Indigenous, Latinx, and of color cultures and people in America. We all have suffered as the viral pandemic and racial justice emergencies of this year were handled in ways so that systemic white supremacy might survive. And feverish mass media lies about it all, packaged and sold to us as a never-ending reality show of infotainment, which deepens the moral injuries to democracy as it divides, polarizes, and divides souls into mutually oppressive groups of liberals and conservatives. So, yes, 2020 has hollowed out the soul of our nation community, perhaps much of our world community, and reaching a high fevered pitch among all humans worldwide in only 10 months. It has been a year unlike any other we have known. And thank heavens, we have found a way to safely gather together through it all. Today, we gather in Zoom for our first worship service together in a brand new year. And thanks, spirits, we have new leaders of color throughout our land to help organize and inspire a new common good for all. Thank spirits, we have vaccines for the ills that 2020 developed as it went along, cures that are finally allowing our souls to regenerate and rebound and resist viruses of fear, hate, oppression, and supremacy. It's a new year for the new you. A new year of spiritual growth for our cohort as student artists of faithful living through never before seen adversity. In truth, 2020 could be considered the heaviest academic and internship of our spiritual lives, the heaviest academic load, spiritually speaking, of our lives. 2020 has been a never before seen study, if you will, in multicultural, anti-racist, anti-oppressive leadership throughout the lands. Many of us lived it as interns of the power of faith. Faith in our belief that love is the transformational power our hollowed out souls need. A new year, a new you, a new spirit in your soul, eager for the wonder and growth that lay ahead of you in 2021. 2021. A whole landscape of the divine that lay before us. Its endless moral horizons still bending toward justice, like the other landscapes we knew before. A new landscape of faithful work, groups, brainstorms, teams, actions, events together. A spacious, inspiring landscape of progressive faith. It powers our soulful, spirited will to impact this world so all souls can enjoy freedom, equity, and love. This past year, friends, may have inflamed and scorched a hollowness into our collective soul. But thankfully, now, we are in 2021's new season of blessed rains and healing waters. It's as if we're emerging from summer's desert of death into a lush, verdant oasis of faithful learning. 2021. 2021 could be the high holy year of faithful living that humankind has always dreamed of. It could be, friends. I don't hear anything whispering in my heart saying it absolutely cannot be. Imagine a high holy year of wisdom gained from last year's adversities. Imagine. Perhaps 2021 could be our year to lean into our interpersonal conflicts with more compassionate curiosity about one another, with more loving kindness. Perhaps this can be the year we realize interpersonal conflict for what it truly is: artful faith formation, one conflict at a time. the instances of conflict that surely lay ahead for every one of us, just as they have in every year before, those can be opportunities for us to trust our informed instincts and guide ourselves, our family, our friends. Perhaps the Honorable John Lewis would bestow his blessing upon us as we heed his wisdom that faith is being so sure of what the Spirit has whispered in your heart that your belief in its eventuality is unshakable. Thank you, Honorable Lewis, because you have guided me to what the Spirit has whispered in my heart, that we can embrace this new year not only for conflict resolution, but conflict transformation. A new year, a new you, a new way. New ways of heeding what the Spirit whispers to our hearts. New whispers as our intergenerational brainstorms, groups, and work and learnings allow our children to be forthright in reminding we elders that we can do better, that we can all serve better as caring advocates for the most marginalized souls in our communities. The whisperings of my faith in this dawning new year tell me this new year will be a massively inspiring container for learning for each and every one of us together. Every year always is. As student artists of faith, our congregations, the religious containers that we learn within and experiment with and make real and tangible 1 week at a time, even 1 day at a time. Our congregations manifesting of safe spiritual space for all souls is more important than the quantity of lessons we will learn together. Because the safe explorative container that we call Tahoma UU is the welcome. It is the welcome. The encouraging, brave space. The interdependent realm of intergenerational learning and living together as artists of faith. Living as an artist of your faith is sharing the ethical and moral teachings from masters you admire, yes, and living as an artist of your faith is also about welcoming new, principled, spiritual maturity. It's about believing unshakably in the eventuality of our Unitarian Universalist principles. It's about choosing your thoughts, words, behaviors, livelihoods that make your faith in covenants and principles real and tangible and factual. In this new year of wonder about the new wonders that lay ahead for you, I encourage your unique spiritual practices of honoring the inherent worth and dignity of every living being with justice, equity, and compassion. I encourage you to accept the whisperings in one another's hearts as allies, not enemies, no matter how great the differences between your beliefs. So many faithful ancestors have mentored us time and time again that learning and living as advocates is a responsible spiritual search for truth and meaning. Learning and living as advocates impacts the liberation all souls require today. In this new year, a new history-making president and vice president and executive administration of color requires us to uphold and honor every soul's right of conscience within our democracy. Let us covenant together, friends, to speak out loud and proud and unshakably that peace, liberty, and justice for all souls is within our reach in this gloriously interdependent web of all existence. Because we have learned, we have lived and witnessed and continue to unshakably believe throughout the massive losses and hardships of this worldwide pandemic that each and every one of us is a vivid, miraculous part of this web of creation, this expansive web of wonder, this precious web of life. A new year, a new you, a new way, a new faith. May it be so. So, friends, with open heart and mind, let us each take a breath and a quiet moment to set a personal intention for the week ahead, reflecting on what has been meaningful for you during our service today. A personal intention for the week ahead. May it be so. Closing words for today again by the Honorable John Lewis. We were one radiant light that did shine, and others, electrified by the cause of freedom, must follow their own light of truth. Each generation must do its part for freedom to reign. People have asked me, what happened to the dream? I say to them, and I say to you, the dream is us.
As we bring our service to a close, Nancy Slocum will extinguish our chalice. The words are in your chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live.